Northern Ireland is quickly becoming a multicultural and diverse place. In this documentary, we will give voice to the range of beliefs that are perhaps lesser known. We will ask them to share their experiences of life in Northern Ireland, focusing on the challenges, hopes and ambitions faced by those of religious and cultural minorities.
We are constantly bombarded with talk about religion, but how much do we actually know about the religions existing in our countries, cities, towns and schools? Welcome to Religious Voices.
It's a really good question.
That's a big question.
I'm now 65, so it's not as if atheism is a phase I'm going through. Basically got my parents' beliefs, and if I'd been born into a family of sun worshippers, I'd be busy sun worshipping now, and yet, I go to Mass every single Sunday along with everybody else, and I listen to these annoying, very, very misogynistic, I felt at the time, sermons. I go along with the whole thing, and I don't know if I really believe it. How do I know what I really believe?
As a Baha'i, you believe that Baha'u'llah is a manifestation of God for today, but we also accept all the previous world religions. So the way I interact with people is worship. The way I treat other people, if I love them, if I show kindness to them, is worship. So worship to me is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not something you do once a week.
The earth is but one country, and all mankind are its citizens. And really, in everything that the Baha'i community tries to do, that principle and that quotation is really at the centre of what we try to do. And really what that means in essence is that behind all these superficial differences that we seem to have, whether it be our skin colour, the different ethnic community that we might be part of, or a different nationality, that essentially we're all one.
It's a big part of our practice is to engage repeatedly with contemplations and meditations that help to challenge our own prejudices.
It's the fourth largest religious group on the planet. It's a group of different religions, different practices that follow the teachings of a guy called Gautama Buddha. He taught to sit quietly, notice what your mind is doing. He called it the path of liberation. So Buddhism is the study of the path of liberation.
Hinduism is people who believe in Vedic practices, Vedas, and Ayurvedic teachings and practices.
My name is Anwar Mahdi. I am the project coordinator of Belfast Islamic Centre.
Islam is a religion that acknowledges that there is one creator and tries to live by the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad.
Judaism is a monotheistic religion. That's to say, it believes in one God, and the whole ethos of Judaism is what comes to us, is taught to us from the Bible.
There are at present about 700,000 Sikhs in UK. But in Northern Ireland, hardly maybe 200 or so. In Derry itself, or London Derry we call it officially, our community is mixed with people, and same message I will pass on to all children in the future, our generation, that they should treat as humanity as a one. Respect each other, ladies and gents, everybody, children, are everybody same.
I think I'm actually more respectful of other people's beliefs than if I had stayed Catholic. It just dawned on me that if everybody in Northern Ireland wanted to do a good turn for somebody from a different religious tradition to their own, or political tradition, it would go quite a long way towards what I imagine as a giant kind of cauldron of goodwill.
There's still a small but growing number of people from diverse communities overseas, including the religious diversity, but other aspects of cultural diversity have really enriched this place, made it more interesting culturally, in terms of cuisine, in terms of the arts, in terms of just being able to meet people with different backgrounds and outlooks on life and religious perspectives.
We have families here who have been living in Northern Ireland in the last 50 years. So they have the second generation and they have the third generation. Yeah, at the moment the Muslim community are expanding a lot.
And so I think it's made Northern Ireland a better place. I don't think that's always been appreciated by everybody here. We know there is a discrimination problem, a racism problem directed at minorities, but I think that generally it has been hugely beneficial to Northern Ireland, and I would really welcome a lot more of it.
What we're aiming to do is to try to love everybody equally, every single living being. So for example, we'll contemplate the kindness of others. We'll spend a lot of time contemplating how we depend on each other and how we're interconnected.
We're really quite a novelty. So maybe 10 years ago, it was really, really common that people would know what a Muslim was, and then maybe ask you if you were Catholic or a Protestant Muslim, because they didn't understand it's a different religion, it's not Christianity. So I think more people are aware, but the problem is now it's a lot of negative media attention, you know, from the attacks and stuff, and maybe it's quite a lot of negative perception of Islam, because still people haven't met, unless they're in the South Belfast area, maybe Lisburn, Finucane area, they haven't met many Muslims, and everything's from the perception from the media or, you know, stereotypes.
I came here in 1953. I was born in a Sikh family, and when we came over here there was no Gurdwara or anything, but I used to go to church. So for me it's no difference like that, you know. Everybody is the same. Lord Jesus Christ preached the same thing. Our gurus, they preach the same things like that, you know.
I think we never felt the difference, you know, like that much, especially children. All they knew it, they had long hair, but now my eldest son has cut the hair. But I think it was so nice because I think the people here are very friendly, and they have some spirit in them too.
We're not included. It's as if, you know, the way that Stormont is divided into unionist and nationalist, when in fact lots of people aren't quite those things. We're all supposed to be Christian. It's a default position. I mean, if I had another religion, if I was Jewish or Buddhist or something, people would be odd about it, but at the same time they would know where to put me, because they would feel I had a twin belief to theirs. But if you're an atheist, people say, so you're just nothing? And I'm not just nothing. I'm a human being.
Amnesty's job is to shine a spotlight where people are suffering human rights violations. Those violations include when people are suffering because of their religious viewpoints. In Northern Ireland, we do have a racism problem, and part of that is about religious beliefs, and so we stand up and challenge that, and we put pressure on the government, including our own government in Northern Ireland, to introduce better laws to stand up against racism, and then to uphold those laws and hold accountable anybody responsible for crimes against religious or ethnic minorities.
Baha'is believe in not drinking or taking drugs and all of those substances. And at my age of 17, 18, it's kind of difficult because of that drinking culture in our society.
In fact, everybody just wants to be happy, everybody wants to be free from suffering. And in that respect, we're all completely equal.
Indifference to religion is probably the growing trend. I think what the humanist associations probably do is to provide a refuge for people in places like this where ethical issues and how to live your life are not discussed much except in the religious context.
Just like every other faith, challenges are the same. Following any faith, the biggest thing is rid the fear of unknown.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama would talk quite a lot about core values. Compassion, love, forgiveness. And when I look at my faith and the way I was brought up, I can't see any difference whatsoever. Now, there might be sort of philosophical differences or some sort of theological differences that really, I haven't delved into Buddhism to that extent. But I certainly think that when it comes to those core values, all our religions are the same. And I think one of the things the Dalai Lama has taught me is, that we need to get in touch with those core values again, that we're all the same, really.
But we do have, sadly, some incidents, particularly women who wear scarves, maybe getting shouted at, was attacked last week of someone in the street. But it's just these isolated incidents of sort of idiots who, have nothing better to do, basically. So I think as a society, when these things happen, people do come in, they phone the mosque, and I think people are, they don't want that kind of Northern Ireland. Nobody wants a Northern Ireland that everybody hates each other. We've already been there. But it's just those few people that just want to hate. I mean, we have a free society here. We're free to practice our faith. We're free to express our faith, which not every country does. That's something that I really appreciate.
Basically, the bad impression people get generally, or watered down impression from the media, usually incorrect perceptions about the religion because of different cults that do acts in the name of Islam that has nothing to do with religion itself.
It's a challenge here for Jewish people because things that Jewish people look for, such as specifically Jewish education, shops that sell Jewish goods. Sometimes they're in short supply. So those are also challenges for Jewish people. I'm free to practice my religion how I want, when I want, and where I want. From that point of view, it's actually very easy, realizing that as far as Jewish faith is concerned, there are quite a lot of common areas shared between the Christian church and Jewish teaching. So when we share commonality, that's one way of bridging. And the other thing, of course, is to learn to respect other people's opinions and other people's views.
It's not really different from any other teenagers that are my age, because we do the exact same things. And every Sunday I go here, whereas my friend would just go to church or something like that. There's not really any difference.
It is for you now to look for knowledge and to improve yourself in terms of knowledge.
We just celebrate diversity and find out about other people's beliefs, other people's backgrounds, other people's worldviews and their family and community experiences, because it makes the world in this little place in Northern Ireland a much, much more interesting place. And then rather than trying to suppress or eliminate that diversity, enjoy it, find out about it, celebrate it, join in with other people's celebrations and stand up for your own beliefs as well, but make sure that you're not trampling on other people's beliefs in doing so.
You have just one life, make the most of it.
The big thing that's the common concept throughout all the religions is the fact that we have to love one another.
To keep that kind heart, really, to try to keep some warmth and some good feeling towards everybody we meet, everybody we think about.
As you grow up, enhancing your knowledge of the world and the cultures of the world, do not think you are alone. Try to understand and remember one thing: you're human first, faithful second.
I think it would be embrace difference, and we are a very increasingly a more diverse society, and get to know people. Don't judge people by your stereotype, your preconceived ideas. Get to know them as people, because there are horrible Muslims and there are horrible Christians and there are horrible atheists, and they're also far outnumbered by the lovely people, and it doesn't matter what your label is, what your religion is. Just get to know each other, and that's the best way to deal with other people. I think this generation coming up have a very different experience. I mean, I grew up here during the Troubles, and it was a very divided society, and I've seen how much Northern Ireland has changed and embraced change, and I think this next generation are miles ahead of my generation or even the generation before. So yeah, definitely.
It's basically about open-mindedness and coexistence. That's what creates a strong multicultural society.
To learn to respect differences is also important, and I think those are values that certainly what I see in education here, those are values that are put out to the community at large.
I see the future of our Northern Ireland or Ireland or whatever, UK, anything, is good.
It would just be that the religion shouldn't cause any barriers between anyone, so everyone's just the same at the end of the day.
Respect each other, love each other, no hate or anything. That's my message.
The most important thing I've learned was probably not to judge a book by its cover.
If you give people a chance to speak, and if you give people a voice, you can learn so much more than you can in books or anything else.
I've enjoyed witnessing different types of prayer and practice.
Well, I really liked seeing all the different cultures and beliefs.
I really liked the Sikh Gurdwara because it was the first place we went, and it was just so different from any other place I'd been, and it was such a different experience.
Probably getting a proper insight on all the different religions and how they work, and seeing that everyone may think everyone's so different, but they're not really. Stripping it back, everyone's quite the same.